Okay. Oh, all these stringy bits of hair in my tits. Yes, good morning. So, I've been back on. I'm hoping there's going to be some people in, but it is early-ish. But it is also a Monday, so you should all be up. 6 weeks back on eBay about procs. But yeah, pretty much 6 weeks since. So I had 142 listings taken down for commercial activity on Vinted, and then I had about a week where I was a little bit paralysed. I wasn't sure what to do. I was thinking, well, is it because I'd come to the realisation that my business account on eBay for fine jewellery, just wasn't viable. That's why I left it. The profit I just couldn't do it with. On there, I was, as well as the approximately 15% fees for the jewellery, I was promoting, and it just got to the stage where it was not viable. So that's why I was like, well, I can't go back to that. And then I was like, well, Etsy didn't work for me, and I've been thinking about all the platforms. So I had about a week where I was just like, I just don't know what to do. And then obviously I took the decision that I would put stuff on my other account, as I've said. Still paying plenty of fees, as you'll see. But I'm not promoting, and I am making use of any offers that are offered to me. So I'm open about it. So good morning, Leanne. Finally catching a live, yay. Morning, Limelight. Morning, RJ. Hope everyone is well. How's your weekend of sales? So I'll sort of give an overview of the 6 weeks. I haven't been consistent or anything. And then actually I've got just 2 things to show you going out from the weekend. One was with using, the offer that comes around on my accounts, and one wasn't. So I'll give you the breakdown of that so you can see like a comparison of how much that affects your fees. I know you could do it with the calculator, but to have the actual figures after I bought the postage label, I think for me it's easier to digest. And I've got a few bits that I picked up from the weekend that I can show you. So, and that was a chain stuck to my elbow. Hello. Hi, Jade. So, Limelight, I've had 0 sales this weekend, but I've not been listing at all. Oh, geez. Yeah, well, my listing gave up the ghost last week, my consistency, and so I'll talk about that as well. So I'm not surprised. I've got a chain already packaged, so I'm not surprised I've only got a couple. So, hang on, let's have a slab of my tea. Got my new less than £1 t-shirt I got from the boot the other week with Maud. So I'm a bit of a mess this morning. I'm not properly up yet. We're going on holiday later today. Me and the girls going to Spain. Should be great, just for a week. So I've already put my Vinted on holiday. There's not much on there anyway, and there's not much going on there. And what I've got on eBay, I'm just going to end the lot and then sell similar. So, right, let's give you an overview. Thanks, RJ. Have a great holiday. Thank you. It's going to be, I'll tell you what, I'm getting into this, but the odd thing is, because obviously, I've been saying I can't drink much because the tablets I'm on, they make me feel sick after about 1.5 drinks, which I would have most nights, like just, 1.5 glasses of wine was just like a Monday night for me. And that's now that's like a session for me at the moment. So going all inclusive, and I mean, no doubt Connie's going to make up for me on the drinking front. I'm going to have to eat a lot of ice creams. Anyway, that's another story. Good morning, Crispy. How are you? How was your sales? Anything spectacular? Most of yours are spectacular, aren't they? So 6 weeks. Over the 6 weeks, on my eBay account, I've had 68 sales. That means nothing to me, to be honest. In fact, actually, I'm thinking about it now. if you there's about 11 sales a week, if you look at it like that, which going forwards would be a bit on the low side, but when you're starting to build something back up, not that I think the only benefit, the benefit of a bigger shop is the more hooks in the water, but I don't think you can beat, if you're not promoting, I don't think you can beat the initial boost of a fresh listing that appears at the top of the page for a bit before it starts to drop. So yeah, ideally it would be a consistent trickle. So the net sales from those 68 sales after fees, after postage, was £2,031.49. And I'm really chuffed with that, actually, because I mean it's not a completely like scientific experiment. I mean, it wasn't meant to be anyway, but then it's hard to do this totally accurately anyway, because for instance I had gold in those sales that owed me nothing because they came in a box that they came in by accident, sort of thing, when you find treasure in something you weren't expecting, so they didn't owe me anything. I had and this is the thing, I had a ring which I sold for £250, which I paid less than a tenner for, and I've got a few more of those which I got off of Vinted, because I guess whoever was selling it, and even me buying it, didn't know what it was until I researched it. But then that's reselling, isn't it? You're kind of, those bolos, those outlying bits of treasure are the things we always hope we're going to find occasionally. And I guess you probably could say occasionally I'm going to come across a corker, but they're not the bread and butters. So yeah, so it can't be scientific. However, in a normal kind of trying to get your head around it in terms of is this like financially viable, I would say for me and how I'm working now, like, so for instance, this ring probably cost me about a tenner, and I would probably make averagely, if we take into account sometimes being able to make use of an offer thrown my way and sometimes not, averagely I may have paid a tenner for something and I made double my money. I would say averagely that about works. So from those net sales, I could say there's about £1,000 probably profit in that. So I'm not paying for a shop, I'm not paying to list. I did have about 2 days of promoting during that 6 weeks where I was a bit panicked, and I thought, I'm going to promote, and then I'd say, no, I'm not, and then I took them down. And cheekily, I could not believe, I think it was even last week, something sold via promoted listing. I was like, you're joking. Like, that was literally about 4 weeks ago, and it was for about 2 days, and eBay still managed to squeeze out one last promoted listing sale from me. So about £1,000, given that I'd only just gone back on there in 6 weeks, is brilliant for me. I'm well chuffed with that. So right, good morning. Let me just check. Good morning, Simon. Morning, Shelley Jo. Morning, Babs. Melissa, is it a green stone? That's not green stone. Is that what you're talking about? This is just like a chunky silver. So let's see, what have I done over that time? So in the 6 weeks, I only, when I said I'm going to start sitting down at this table and I'm going to do 5 hours of work rather than, I've done 10 listings, I'm off now. One had on my finger. I've got my little, that's lapis, garnet. That's what you're looking at, thank you. Sorry if you're paying me a compliment. Yeah, I only did about a fortnight of that, sitting down and saying, right, 5 hours of actual work, no, like, and also a caveat on that, that was probably only about 4 days a week, because if I go and meet my friends, for coffee, then that's my morning wiped out. And in the afternoon, obviously, it's nap time. So my kind of consistent, but to sit for like around 5 hours, say 4 days a week, that's enough to keep me out of trouble. And I think I only did that for about 2 weeks out of the 6 weeks. So it definitely, if I did that 4 days a week, it's definitely enough to, I'm saying keep me out of trouble because I get really bored, but also actually provide me with some income. So I'm going to go back. So last week, I don't know what happened last week. I think I had a few appointments and things going on. And I was thinking, well, holiday's coming. Is there any point in me listing now? Because I'm going to be away and then I'm going to be ending my listings. And I think I must have convinced myself that I didn't need to do consistent listing last week, which was a mistake, really. I get a bit confused sometimes. So so it's only about 2 weeks. So I'm pretty pleased with that. So I've also, looking at, sounds like it's paying off. Yes, I think so. Thanks, Shelley J. I'm just going to look at my graph. So the graph, on your hub, your sales hub. So I'm looking from, it's showing me from the 22nd of June to now. And sorry if I'm a bit crooked now. Oh, there we go. Is that better? And before I start the consistent listing, obviously there's no sale days and there's a spike, no sales. And then the 2 weeks where I did the consistent listing, although it's a bit like a comb, there's sales every day. And it's more like, it's less erratic. It's a bit less roller coaster. It's actually slightly more consistent. And I'm really surprised to see that. And it doesn't matter how many times I've heard people say and advise me and tell me, and paid to be in groups where they've said, do your freaking consistent listing. It's not rocket science. Do your consistent listing. And I've gone, no, I don't think I work like that. I mean, for God's sake, you literally, and I know this with, myself and kids, you have to make your own mistakes. But then, of course, that's literally, I know that's like a pinprick of an experiment, if that's the right phrase. But a lot of people that are doing consistent listings will also say, I've been doing consistent listing, my sales have dropped off. So obviously it's not an exact science, because also all the stuff we're listing is different. So however, for me, I'm taking that forwards, that's one of my lessons, is definitely post-holiday resolution. I'm going to be doing, I'm already going 3 to 4 days a week. Right, I'm aiming for 4 days a week of 5 hours, proper working at this table, not fluffing around out there pretending I'm working, you know what I mean? But proper list. I mean, I've got enough, I've got enough stock that I need to, that's just the tip of the iceberg, there's pots and pots of this silver that needs listing. I've got enough to keep me out of trouble here, to sustain me for doing that amount of consistent listing. So, and also I need to do my punishment. I need to sell all this stuff. And that's something as well. I think that must have been on Hanley and Sam's podcast. But it was Sam who was saying, the what's it called? Banter and Business and Banter podcast. I think it was Sam that was saying she now, I won't quite get the value out of everything, because I do have a bag of where somebody said, oh, you can take the lot for £2. I do have a bag of like costume / craft stuff, which I don't think I will. So I think that will go to the charity shop. But from the silver, for instance, I'm listing all of the chains. I had just so many fine chains built up. So like, for instance, I would get the chain and this amber, and I would probably just sell it as a necklace. And to be honest, I paid a £5 for this. I'm much better off getting the £5 back on Vinted for the chain and then just selling the amber as a pendant. I get more money that way. So I'm listing all the fine chains, whereas before they would have just been being thrown into a pot, and I guess you're leaking money that way, aren't you? Well, we'll see. I'll report back on that, but I'm trying to list. Yeah, and like small charms, I don't want to really list. If I'm not going to list them, I need to bundle them up and just recoup the money from it and reinvest it on something that I do want to list, that's more profitable. What else did I think? Yeah, definitely a viable option for me financially. So I'm chuffed to bits to find that out. And obviously that's my panic over for the moment about, coming off Vinted, was a major panic financially. I've also learnt, and we know this anyway, sourcing wise, best places to source for me. I mean, I've hardly bought from charity shops actually. So that was it. That was the other thing. In that week when I think I was having the panic, I bought clothing, and I did buy a couple of bangers, but also I bought a load of clothing which I've still got, because clothing isn't my forte, and I've realised I can have a look through the clothing if I want, but unless it's like a top brand. So the stuff that went straight away, obviously, it was me and M, and then I was very lucky to get about 4 or 5 pairs of toast trousers. So obviously they've all sold, and then I'm left with the Laura Ashley and all of Keeley silk dress. Would have thought that would sell on Vinted. No, it can't sell it. So stuff that I thought would sell, but probably regular. And this is the thing, I see people selling clothing on Insta, sell things like Reese. They seem to sell a lot of Reese, and there's another brand that I was just so surprised, because I'm like, but then it's like they know it's not any Reese will sell. Their knowledge is up to date with what Reese will sell, what is probably because they wear Reese as well, or they maybe wear a bit for work or whatever. They know what people are looking for in Reese, or what is up to date and the latest label and that sort of thing, and I don't. You've got, I think, whatever you're selling in, you need a lot of knowledge. You need to know, and people know this, and clothing sellers are struggling. You've really, same with the silver as well. I'm not keen on picking up clear stone rings anymore, because they don't sell for me, and people aren't looking for them maybe. You need that knowledge. So unless I see something totally banger, I would be stupid not to pick it up, which then that will be the clothing I pick up. And thank God I can go back. The jewelry is is viable at the moment with the way that I'm doing it. So where was I going from this? Yeah, so that's right. So I've hardly been sourcing in charity shops for stock. The boots, I've always said this, so it's charity shops, boots, jumble sales if you want value for money. But also for me, antiques emporiums is usually a cabinet where there's viable stock for me. So, and Vinted. Again, so you're also not meant to source on Vinted. That's another thing. If they suspect you're buying to resell, are you buying a lot? Although we do all know people that only source on Vinted, and I don't think I haven't heard about anybody being chucked off just for sourcing on there, only so far for selling, I believe, because there's some big people on Insta. Well, they're completely open about it. On Warders Clobbers, James Boldfines, and there's Jamie that just did a podcast with Tech and Sports. Is it Jamie? Who does vintage teas, and I think is he only vintage now? Possibly. And And then Luke, who's doing Insta stories now from Warders, so he must be Luke Warder, Warders Clobber. Well, he's out the boots at the moment, but most of the time, and when the boots aren't on, he's just vintage sourcing. So I don't hear about anybody being chopped off for sourcing too much on there. So yeah, that's still viable. And of course, I'm still, if Vintage Pro, if it ever arrives, then I will have to relook at this, because obviously the major positive with Vinted is how quick it is to list. But I am surprised to see that even with, you know, fees, if I'm not promoting, profits are higher on eBay for me. I'm trying to think, actually. Yeah, the other thing is, so for instance, with rings, the volume that was selling was more on Vinted. That was it. I think it was quicker to list and they sold quicker, but less profit. So I'd have to review it again if Pro ever arrives. And then the other thing, hang on, let me just see. Morning, Mel, how are you? Right. Yeah, so also in the future, something else I was thinking. So I sold a couple of chains and, well, a couple of rings. And I'm like, that's good. That's like a £20 profit. And I always wrestle between, right, should I be doing that? Right, aim for a £20 profit and stop fluffing around with things that are giving me, you know, less than £10 profit. And in an ideal world, I would, but, and this is the thing, I can't work out whether I should just say, no, you stick to that and stop picking up the other stuff. But then the worry is, if you stop picking up the other stuff, that you won't be able to find enough of the bigger profit stuff. So I sort of think, yes, that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm like, actually, I don't know, because there's all this stuff that I can lay my hands on fairly readily that are just £10 profits, and I should be happy with that when it doesn't take that long to list with the way I'm doing it. So I'm still undecided about that in the future. Oh, there's nothing written there. So yeah, that's what I found in the 6 weeks. I'm going to show, right, so yeah, I've already, there's a chain going out which was a £20 profit, but I've already packaged it. And then there's a couple of rings from this weekend. And so that's a really quiet weekend. And I do put that down to, well, it could be, you know, middle of the month thing, but I think it's more likely, I had a lot of no sales days last week. I think it's more likely to do with me not doing any consistent listing last week. Mel, all good here. I've taken 2 months off listing when you were doing your exam stuff, but back to work today. Yay, glad things are going well for you. Thank you. Can we have a video sometime, Mel, please? So, and they're not exactly the same sales price, but just think it's interesting as well from when you've got an offer coming your way. But you only, even if you are on your non-business account, you're only going to be offered 200 listings a month with the offer. And well, unless you had the most amazing stock. I don't know, is there anybody watching who has that little listings? Because if you did, then that would be quite amazing if you could do them all on like offers of saving on your final value fees. But for me, I do think with jewellery generally, but then to make up for the kind of slower sell through and what I can lay my hands on, I need to list more than that. So I've got 2 rings here that sold. One was on using the 70% offer on your final value, and one wasn't. So this lovely vintage amber ring, tiger's eye, with lovely pebbly shoulders. So that sold for £20 plus 350 post and packaging. The fee on it, so there was no, I didn't promote, but there was no offer on it. £3.41 fee, £2.70 label, and then plus, whatever you take out for your packaging. And so the net amount after that is £17.39 before cost of goods. So had I paid a tenner for this, I think we knock some money off for packaging. There's about a £7, or other bits that come out of you've got to, say you've got your travel expenses, you've got to knock a bit off each thing sort of overall to say you're not taking into account all of your expenses. So say that's a £7 profit, which, yeah, I'd rather be doubling my money each time. But I mean, it's doable. So that's with fees but no promotion. Then this lovely chunky amber, that sold for £25 plus £3.50 P&P. Now this had the offer on it, so I got the 70% off on a value fee. So my fee was only £1.51, so it was a higher value. So the fee on the other one was £3.41. It was £1.51 on here, £2.70 for the label, because I send everything Royal Mail tracked 48, and they go in the letterbox, which is ace. So the net profit was £24.29. So yeah, take something off for your packaging or whatever, say £24. So had I paid, up to a tenner, which is kind of what I do averagely, £14 profit on one ring, chuffed to bits with that, but they're just not regular enough. And in fact, I actually know that I did have my cost of goods written down for this, and it was £6.50. So chuffed to bits, because it's like £17 odd profit on that one, which is brilliant. If they could all be amber rings that I got for £6.50 and sold for £25, And that's the other thing. I think I brought my prices down as well. I'm really conscious of what people are willing to spend. There's no point in me listing it really high and hoping that someone buys it. It's got to be, viable. So that's that, out of interest. That some bits I picked up recently I just wanted to show you. So at the boot yesterday, Mel, yes, back recording this week. Anything you particularly fancy? I do a good line in random topics. You can have money, goals, income updates, business updates, vlogs, take your pick. Ooh. Anybody in the chat that wants to have an input on this? Updates and goals. Is that two videos? I'm happy with 2 videos. So yeah, so even though I've got my loop, I even took my scales this time to the boot. So I thought I'm going to start weighing some of this stuff to make sure, so I've got a chain and I'm trying to think how much, because even though I'm not selling by weight, I can tell, not so much for the rings, although a weightier ring I'm going to get more money for than a light ring. But a chain, people are still, if you've got a silver ingot, people are going to say, how much does it weigh? And they will be comparing weights. People will give weights and they will be comparing it. So it's useful to know how much something weighs. But I was not, I'm comfortable with my loop, making sure I've got, at least a 925 on there now, but I was not comfortable to get my scales out yet. So I need to build up my I need to build up my confidence with that one. So I had, so the guy that I spent 60 quid with, one of his chains, in fact, although it was stamped and it was old, vintage and dirty, and I thought it looked like silver, it was not freaking silver. So that was annoying because he was allowing about £10 for that chain. However, it's like swings and roundabouts, because then this chain I picked up for £1 for £1. It's a box chain, and I looked at it and she had all sorts of it was just in a bag. She said, I just put stuff in bags to stop it floating away. She had it in with a obviously costume pendant, and I thought, that looks like silver. I said, so how much is this? And she said £1. I was like, okay, thanks. And I thought, I'm not getting my loop out, but it looks like a box chain I would have worn in the 80s. late 70s, 80s. It looks like silver, so I thought, well, sometimes I'll just take the punt then if they're only charging that. And yeah, that one's silver, and this one has probably a £20 profit in it. So fortunately, that makes up for the dodgy £10 purchase. So it swings and roundabouts. So in fact, there were a couple of bits that I just slung into the charity pot that turned out not to be silver, but overall, I'm okay. So even as obviously some stuff gets stamped and it's not. So really, a lesson to me is, as well as the loop, I really probably ought to be carrying a strong magnet and at least doing a magnet test on stuff. If I'm going to be spending a tenner, I probably ought to be checking it slightly further. But I was lucky this time because that kind of made up for it. So the guy so I've got lots of dirty silver, which I love, to be honest. I've got these dirty, like, wedding bands. They've got stamps on, but not full UK hallmarks, just 95. So I will look forward to that one's a massive one, cleaning those up. And he only charged a £5 each for those, so that's cool. I mean, they haven't got stones, but there's profit in it. I also bought, and these are just, they're not full UK hallmarks, but napkin rings, but solid silver. I've got a J and a B or E. So I'm guessing that's, what would that have been, a wedding? Was that somebody's initials or something? I don't know. Oh no, I don't know what that is, but anyway, 2 initials. You know what I mean? They've got age. I will clean those up. I don't know about napkin rings, silver napkin rings. They're not silver plated, they're not EPNS, but I'm going to find out. I thought, it'd be interesting to try some other kind of silver. Yeah, and then so for all the bits, so I'm just showing you a few bits I picked up recently that I fancied showing you. 4 rings that I got from the Antiques Emporium, although these aren't antiques. This one's actually just glass, but very pretty, and I picked it up thinking, well, you don't know, I'm freaking loving having the gem tester, because I was able to find out actually that's just glass, and so I can tell people. So equally, I'm picking up stuff. Oh no, there is something else I want to show you. I'm picking up stuff, and like I found out something was aquamarine, and I'm like, freaking brilliant. I got 50 quid for that ring, but this is just glass, but it's pretty, so that's fine. I'm trying to pick up stuff that's desirable. A lovely smoky quartz. This smoky quartz, I don't know, it's all the brownstones, amber, tiger's eye, smoky quartz seem to be quite popular at the moment in my limited experience. So yeah, I thought I'm having that one. Thought this one might be amethyst, but it's not, but it's very pretty indeed. It's a wide band as well, and it's chunky, and the chunky silver rings are in. I mean, it's a little bit ornate, a little bit goth, I suppose. Purple stone and marcasetes, but that's probably those black strips are probably just enamel. But yeah, again, I think that's saleable. And then this chunk. This is, I know Connie's filled her digits with chunky rings from me that she's purloined, but yeah, look at that. This is very much what a lot of people are looking for right now. So yeah, averagely I spend about £10 each on those from the Antiques Emporium. And then that lot cost me, from one of my regular sellers from the boot yesterday, cost me 50 quid. And I've just weighed it, and there's, out of interest, I mean, there are stones in this. That's like 55 grams, so happy with that. And I'll just show you what 50 quid at the boot for me might buy, what that might buy. There's a little selezione here. So, I'll be all tangled now. Nice heavy weight pendant with a kind of, what's that kind of bead called? I always say it's like a, not a bubble bead. Is it bob? No. Well, it's like a beaded chain, but not movable. It's like the old that you used to have on bath plug chains. Do you know what I mean? And I forgot my popcorn chain. Might be popcorn chain. I can't remember. So heavy pendant on that one. Oh, always like a spring ring. So a necklace. think there's another necklace in here, is there? Oh yeah, this one needs a good clean up. Oh, so that's one of those. So I don't know if that's a foreign silver. That is very pretty, and I haven't tested that with my gem tester yet. So slightly something like blue topaz or quartz or something, but the hope is, it's aquamarine, but you never know. So that, 2 necklaces. It's another like popcorn chain. What's that got on it? Or a little bear. I'll need to measure that. There might be like a little like christening bracelet, or yeah, if it's less than, oh no, it's got a loop. What is going on there? It looks like it might have had something else hanging off of it. That might be like a christening bracelet. I'll measure it to check. Another little bracelet with bits hanging off of it. Now that heart, is that no, I think that's solid actually. I thought it might be a locket. It's quite an interesting one. So another bracelet, just a snake chain bracelet. But this lady as well, she does me quite good deals, so I was keen to buy plenty from her. A slightly chunkier bracelet. This one is quite nice, quite a lot of charms hanging off of that, quite heavy, little spring ring. What's that one? Oh, that's a darts. Is that a darts board or a roulette wheel? Roulette wheel. I'm guessing it's a roulette wheel with that thing sticking out there. What else have we got? A soldier, a key. Oh man, I love that. Got an ashtray. Oh my God, is that an ashtray? I think that's an ashtray with a flag hanging out of it. I have never seen a charm like that. I freaking love that. Oh my God, that's really of its time, isn't it? Love that. And just this bracelet. Pretty little belly dancer style, isn't it? Yeah, that was 50 quid's worth. So, thanks, Ma. Yeah. So that's it. So I'm off away for a week. So I will be back. Hang on, what's it now? I may be back towards the end of next week. We're back next Monday. So until then, thanks for joining me. Give me a thumbs up if you don't mind, including those 2 naughty boys down there. You know who you are. Yeah, wishing you lots of sales. Bye-bye, don't die.